We are all going through it right now, aren't we? Hello to my old and new friends. If you're here, you're probably living at home like I am. Obviously, if you're living at home longer than you want to be, you're probably feeling negative emotions. You're probably kind of sad. Past a certain age, we are taught you are supposed to be on your own. But unfortunately, things have been set up for us that is kind of hard to do, especially if you don't have a trust fund. Like myself. And a lot of people responded to my last video, and I love reading everybody's responses. And I do read everyone's responses. And while it's encouraging to know that we're not alone in this situation, and people have advice and are just like, thanks for not letting me feel alone, there are a lot of, how do I say this? Just negative. Like, just straight up negative, which is fine. If you feel that way, you are valid, okay? I am not here to preach toxic positivity. That is not my goal. My goal, however, is default optimism, which is more positive, but it's okay if optimism is like just one of the two less bads. That's how I see it, at least. Someone's gonna prove me wrong, but even besides that point, no one needs help feeling bad. So instead, I have some points that will hopefully make you feel better about the situation. Because listen, as someone who has been home for a while is putting it very nicely. I think I've ridden almost every single roller coaster that you could possibly go on emotionally for living at home. Of course, there's more like equations and more scenarios, and everyone is different, so I have some things to share. And also, I'm gonna skip some advice. So if there's something on your chest that you want to share with the class that has helped you get through situations or problems or whatever, please share down below. Because once again, like High School Musical, we're all in this together, so help me God. But I do want to say a quick thank you for everyone who has given the perspective of different cultures. Like, I knew that growing up about the different cultures and how people stayed home longer, and I remember learning that being like, whoa, that's so bizarre. I was a kid, so I was like, whoa, really? But now being reminded of that in the current situation I'm in, I'm like, yes, you know, that makes sense. Now that I'm actually in the thick of it, that makes sense to wait until I'm married to move out, or, you know, in like midlife. I can see that and why people do it. But on the other side, I also have this reality where, you know, the culture that I'm in and the way I was raised also still is very prevalent and pressurizing in, I don't know if that's a real word, but you know what I mean. My current culture is still very prevalent. So I think this is a tug of war of knowing like what used to be and then what is in my current reality. So that's fun. And also, right down the middle of that, kind of splitting that in half, making it irrelevant, is that the fact that I, Madison, and of course a lot of other people on here, hello, want to live by themselves. Because I've had that before and it was great, and I like the person that I am fully when I am completely independent. It feels more exhilarating. I don't have to think about people who knew me previously and stay to that standard of living. I could just be myself. Love that. So like all these, that trifecta is going on of like, it's okay to live at home, but there's different expectations for the people immediate around me that's affecting my perception, and also for myself. I also want to be home. So I'm living in that soup, if you will, which is not a good or bad thing. It's just the way it is. I want to say thank you to the people who are sharing their experiences, who just seem down in the dumps and really not negative, but realistic, and just sharing the raw reality of their situation. Listen, I don't know everybody's exact details living situation. Yes, there's toxic parents. Yes, there's life circumstances that have really set you back. Those things can be true, and it can get you really down in the dumps. And what I'm gonna say is that you should feel those emotions, okay? Please don't be like, I can't feel negative about this. I can't let this get me down. Please don't disregard any negative emotion, okay? Only way out is through. So please feel your emotions. But what I'm going to say from my experience is it's not good to stay in those emotions, which, listen, us moving through emotions can look different person to person. Some people it could take a week, some a month, some years. Personally, it took me 2 years to feel good. Like, from COVID to losing my job to breaking up with my first ever boyfriend in 2020. It took me 2 years to get over a lot of negative emotions. That also came with living at home. So I'm also currently, I'm living in a place that I had my biggest doubt of depression ever. And let me tell you what, I came out on the other side. So maybe trust me. Those are my credentials. But I will say that during that time, me trying to suppress those emotions didn't help and made it worse. So like, wherever you are in your journey, if you're gonna hear the information I'm just about to give to you guys and you're like, I can't really, I don't think save this video, come back to when you're ready to hear it, or when you feel like you're ready to change. In your life, and definitely my life too, when I had a negative default, I was not having a fun time. So I realized I had a choice. Put it simply, I could focus on the negative things or just focus on the optimistic things or the positive things, which would be like 17 negative things to one positive thing. And listen, after spending a lot of time focusing on the negative, I was like, you know what, let's give this a try. Let's try to be optimistic. And it didn't happen overnight. Nothing good ever does. Slowly, my mind started to get eons better. And through a very long domino effect, here we are, like, 3 years later, optimistic early. With all that said and done, here is some tools that you can put in your toolkit to just help you have a better time living at home. You can use this for life in general, but these are things that really helped me in this situation to just be easier on the mind and easier on my circumstances and easier on myself. Number 1, reminder, the only thing constant in life is change. You don't need me to tell you this because you probably have examples of this already in your life. Things change, people change, animals change, circumstances change, jobs change, desires change. Your life circumstances will change. You will not be here forever. Remind yourself of that. And I gotta tell you what, not to be heebie-jeebie, but the more you believe it, the more it comes true. Number 2, the reality of the economy. Like when you really look at the economy, and I don't mean just like vibing the economy, like when you look at the numbers, you should feel less guilty about your situation. Don't use it as an excuse to do nothing, but use it as an excuse to not feel bad about your situation, okay? And listen, if you must do nothing, ponder the existence of life, but people have gotten out of your exact situation multiple times before, so why not you, okay? Number 3, get curious about your mindset. Like when you think things, ask why. Why am I thinking this way? And if you don't like the way you're thinking, if you don't like what conclusions are being drawn, like literally just ask why. If I feel bad about not having a house at my age, or I feel bad about not having my apartment at my age, I have to ask the questions of like, okay, what are the characteristics of the people that have an apartment at my age? Do they have a soul-sucking job? Do they have family that is helping them out? Do they just get lucky and find cheap rent? There are so many things that we don't know. We just see like one shade of a situation, especially if it's online. We see like one dimension and we base like our whole, I don't know, life perception off of that. And there's a lot of things that we can't see. If you were to trade places with that person, it's not what you think it is because they keep that hidden down pat, just like we do, just like I do. You want to just be yourself, but all that can be avoided if we just go back to our brain and go, why do I think this way? And if you do have a negativity bias, I'll tell you what, that's perfectly normal. There's a lot of people that do. But if you're tired of having a negativity bias, there's one thing that you should do, which is number 4, and that is to make gratitude your religion. I don't care if you're not spiritual. I don't care if you believe in other gods. I don't care what it is. You can always just say thank you for random things that are happening through your day and see how this changes. Now, you're not going to feel it immediately. I know I didn't. I was very skeptical about this. I was like, why should I say thank you? It's a given. It's a fact. It's not about saying thank you. It's not in the words of it. It's what it's doing back here. Back into your noggin, back into your big coconut, okay? For example, one thing that we can all relate here, moving back in with your parents. People are like, oh, I can't believe I have to move back with my parents. It's so embarrassing. It's all these negative things. At the same time, how grateful am I to have parents that are alive, welcome me back home, and are allowing me to stay here with them, and are helping me out in XYZ. Same situation, different mindset. I wake up from my bed and I could be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm still living at home. Or I wake up from my bed and I go, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to like have a room. I'm grateful to have air conditioning. I'm grateful to be healthy. I'm grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It can go on forever. Practicing daily gratitude has changed my life. When I first started this back in 2022, I would write down 3 things minimum every single night of what I was grateful for. Let's read. Check it out. Oh, I wrote a lot. Okay, January 25th. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my access to healthcare. I'm grateful for my body. January 26th. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for the people in my life. I'm grateful for things I get to do in my life. And it literally just goes on and on and on and on. But that's a great way to start this ritual of just being grateful by default. That's the gateway, and it leads you to really rewiring your brain. I know a lot of gurus say that, but that's one thing that really changed my life. Also, I will say, if you feel a resistance to literally everything I said, that's valid, that's okay. But also, I would question you, or I would ask you, what the heck? Is your current mindset doing you any good? And if the answer is no, then why not give some of these things a try? Personally, that's one thing that I had to learn the hard way because I was so negative all the time. I was just like, thinking all these bad things and just being like, woe is me, I am literally wasting my life. And then when I started reading all these positive books and like, self-help books and whatever, I realized, my outside circumstances may not change, but the only thing I have complete control of, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, if you know, you know, but like really my everyday thoughts, I can like rein back in. So why not give this positivity thing a try? All this negative thinking doesn't work. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like how it makes me a slob. Like personally, it made me want to do nothing. Lay in bed all day and rot. So that's what I get for my current mindset. What if I changed it? What would that look like? And I gave that a good old college try, and here we are. So I think it works. But that's all to say, it's not easy. It's not overnight, but it can be done. You literally have to choose it every single day. It's not something that you can put on autopilot. Now, for some people, it is. But one thing they won't tell you, because they just, it's just a part of who they are at this point. But they may have had a lot of years that they had to practice this until it got to this point of this default positivity. We don't know that. The only thing we know is we see a very happy person all the do long day. I contribute all of those things into how I changed my mindset. And a quick thing before we leave. My dream is obviously to move to a big city. And I went to that said city a few weeks ago. And when I was there, I was like, the things that I thought would change, because they were up here, are still with me, even though I'm in the city that I want to be in. Why is that? And I realized that moving will solve a lot of issues, but not every issue. So if you're in the camp, like I was until recently, of like, when I just move, then I'll be emotionally stable. Once I move, then all this stuff will just come together in my brain. Yes and no, because where you go, there you are. And I would highly suggest to like take a little trip to the place or the city that you want to move to and like see how you do there. And I will say, not everybody is sharing my experience. So maybe when you do visit that city, it really is, everything comes together and you're fine. And, all your emotions are stable, and that's great. But for the camp that's with me, being on your own is not going to wave a magic wand if the problems stem from inside. Which to me is kind of like a downer, because how easy that would be for my emotional world just to move out and then all problems gone. You get a whole new set of problems. Problems never go away. I think that's life. Life is meant to be this kind of like push and pull of like relaxation, resistance, ease, resistance. Life isn't you being on an inflatable floating down the lazy river. Life is like those wave pools, You get a little calm and then whoosh, it keeps coming. Keeps coming till the park closes. Anyways, guys, I hope this helps. One real last thing I'm gonna leave you with is be aware of how you talk about yourself, especially if you're like a heebie-jeebie lover, or just someone who realizes cause and effect. I realized, not even in the self-deprecating joke way, but I realized that the way I talk about my circumstances not only reinforces the circumstances, but really solidifies the mindset or just like how I view my situation. So a piece of homework I'll leave you with is next time you talk about your living situation with someone, or if you leave a comment here, what if you're like 10% more optimistic about the circumstances? Yes, there's negativity. Yes, there's doom and gloom about the situation. Obviously, living at home means different things to a lot of different people, but there's some silver lining when you look for it. Focus on that a little bit more. Focus on that like 10% more next time you're talking to somebody about it. But if you're one of those people that need to let off steam in the comments, go for it. But I just wanted to give a little piece of a gold nugget for you guys. Please don't suppress your emotions, and if you need to, watch Inside Out again. That's all I'm gonna say. If you know, you know. Anyways, I'm gonna go and practice piano because I need to do that. See you in the next one.